There is something happening inside the avoidant that they will never say out loud. Not to you, not to anyone. And the longer you wait for them to open up, the more you start to wonder if the problem was you all along. It was not. But here is what nobody tells you. Your silence, your distance, your eventual withdrawal, it is not nothing to them. It is everything. And they are crumbling in a way they will never admit and may never fully understand themselves. The avoidant has built an entire internal architecture around not needing people. From a very young age, they learned that vulnerability was dangerous, that needing someone meant being disappointed. That love was something that came with conditions, withdrawals, or unpredictability. So they did what any intelligent, emotionally sensitive person does in an unsafe environment. They adapted. They learned to need less, to feel less, to show less. They constructed walls not out of cruelty, but out of survival. And then you came along, you with your warmth, your consistency, your willingness to stay even when they pushed. You were the first crack in the architecture, and they did not know what to do with that. So they did what they always do. They pulled away, minimized, disappeared into themselves, and left you standing in the cold, wondering what you did wrong. You did nothing wrong. You simply represented something their nervous system had never learned to hold, genuine closeness. But here is where it gets painful, not just for you. For them, when you eventually go quiet, when you stop reaching out, stop trying, stop making yourself available, something shifts in the avoidance internal world, something they are not equipped to process. Because on the surface, the silence looks like relief. It looks like the pressure has lifted, like they can finally breathe. They tell themselves this is what they wanted: space, freedom, no emotional demands. But underneath that, underneath the numbness and the rationalization, there is a wound reopening. Your silence does not feel like peace to them. It feels like abandonment. It feels like the exact thing their childhood taught them to expect, that love eventually leaves, that they are, at their core, too much trouble to stay for. Every wall they built was, in part, a test. Not a conscious one, but a test nonetheless. And in their deepest psychology, your silence feels like you failed it, like everyone else did. The cruelty of avoidant attachment is this: they push away the very thing they are starving for. They create distance and then mourn it. They sabotage connection and then ache in its absence. The emotional hunger does not go away just because they refuse to be fed. It goes underground. It becomes restlessness. It becomes irritability with no named source. It becomes a low hum of emptiness that follows them into every quiet room, every sleepless night, every moment they are alone with themselves. That emptiness has your name on it, even if they never say it. You need to understand what your presence meant to them, even when they acted like it meant nothing. You were the person who did not give up immediately. And for someone who has spent their whole life unconsciously expecting to be given up on, that registered deeply. Not in a way they could articulate. Not in a way that made them suddenly open up and love you the way you needed. But it registered in the part of them that still knows how to feel, even when they are working overtime to not feel it. When you go silent, that part of them notices. It does not announce itself. It does not pick up the phone. It does not say, "I miss you," or "Please come back." It just aches, quietly, invisibly, in the way that all the deepest avoidant pain aches, without witnesses, without words, without relief. And you are carrying your own weight of this. You are the one who gave and gave, who tried to decode their signals, who made yourself emotionally available to someone who handed you breadcrumbs in return. You learned to shrink your needs, to not ask for too much, to celebrate the small moments of warmth as though they were grand gestures, because in their world, they almost were. You became fluent in a language of absence, reading into what they did not say, what they did not do, what they could not give. That is exhausting, and it leaves a particular kind of wound, one that does not just hurt, but confuses. Because how do you grieve someone who is still there? How do you let go of someone whose walls you understand, whose pain you can see, even when they cannot see it themselves? The truth is, the avoidant is not cold. They are frozen. There is a difference. Cold implies indifference. Frozen implies that somewhere beneath the surface there is heat, there is longing, there is feeling, there is a person who wanted to love you and did not know how, who is now sitting with the quiet devastation of your absence and calling it peace because calling it loss would require them to feel it. They will not grieve you loudly. They will not come to you with tears and confessions. They will do what they always do. They will contain it, compress it, bury it beneath routine and distraction and the performance of being fine. But they are not fine, and neither still are you. And that shared pain, invisible, unspoken, never exchanged, is perhaps the most heartbreaking thing about loving someone who never learned that love was safe.